Hello, my dear students. I'm your Sir Barkish, and today we will be studying our first chapter in science, in biology, of course. It is called life process. Now, let's go ahead and see. Let's first understand the meaning of life process. So, here let's see the definition that is being written here. It is written as the basic functions performed by a living organism to maintain their life on earth are called life process. Now, by this, what do you understand? It is very simple. It simply means that we as an organism, we are made up of various organs like our brain, our heart, our lungs, our kidney, our digestive system, our excretory system, our reproductive system. Now, these organs, they perform their own various functions. Like, for example, your heart, it has the function to pump blood all over your body. Similarly, your lungs, it has the function to absorb oxygen from the atmosphere and transport it to various parts of your body. Now, all these organs, they perform their own function, and because of their coordinated functions, a organism is alive. You and me is alive due to the functions or processes performed by these various organs. Now, these functions or processes performed by various organs to keep us alive, to keep you and me alive, are called life processes. And these life processes, the various life processes, are as follows. Let's see. The first one is called nutrition. The second one is called respiration. The third one is called transportation. The fourth one is called excretion. The fifth one is called control and coordination. The sixth is called growth. The seventh is called movement. The eighth is called reproduction. And there are many others, but in our scope of class 10, we are going to deal with the following life processes, such as nutrition, respiration, transportation, excretion, control and coordination, and finally reproduction. Now, in this chapter, we are going to discuss the following 4 life processes, namely nutrition, respiration, transportation, and excretion. The 5th life process, control and coordination, and 8th life process, reproduction, we will be dealing it as a separate chapter. And we will not be dealing with growth and movement. Okay, now before going to our understanding various life processes, now let's learn about the characteristics of living things. Now, what do we understand by the characteristics of living things? It simply means that what are the characters by which you can identify whether an object is living or non-living. Those characters that helps us in determining whether an object is living or non-living are called the characteristics of living things. So let's see what are the characteristics. The first characteristics is living things can move by themselves. Now, non-living things possibly can't do that, right? So if an object can move by itself, then we will consider that object to be a living thing. The second characteristic is living thing needs food, air, and water. Non-living things such as a stone, it will never need food, it will never need air, it will never need water. But living organisms like you and me, we need to eat food every day, we need to respire, we need to take in air, and we need to drink lots of water, right? The third characteristic is living things can grow. A non-living thing generally do not grow, but only living things grow. Like, for example, a plant, it is when you plant it, it is very small, but gradually it grows into a large tree, right? The fourth one is living things can respond to changes around them. They are sensitive. We respond to various things. We suppose if we, let's say, if we hear a big bang means when someone cracks a firecracker, what do? We generally respond to it. We generally hear it with our ear and try to find it out where was the firecracker being burned. And the next characteristic is living things respire. Non-living things, they cannot respire, but we respire. Now what is to respire? Respire now, for now, you just take it as taking in oxygen and giving out carbon dioxide. The next characteristic is living things excrete. Now by that, what do we understand? It means that we release the waste materials that are present in our body. Like all living organisms, they tend to like for example, if we take the example of mammals, we tend to excrete or take out the waste from our body through urine. So non-living things like stone, they can never do that. So if all these characteristics, if you can see in an object, then you can consider an object to be a living organism. So now let's go back to our let's now study about our first life process. Our first life process is called nutrition, and here it comes. So let's understand what nutrition is. Now nutrition is basically obtaining of food by an organism. Everybody needs food to survive, right? So the act of obtaining food and basically taking it in your body is called nutrition. Now why is this nutrition an important life process? It is an important life process because without nutrition or without food, we will not get the energy needed to survive. So that's why the first point here, it is already mentioned here. If you read this, energy is needed by all living organisms to perform various life processes. If you want to survive, then you need energy. Just like for example, if you think of a car is basically, it won't run without energy, so we have to put energy into it. But the form of energy that a car needs is called petrol or diesel, right? So this petrol or diesel, it gives energy to the car to move around. In a similar way, all living organisms also need energy to move around or do their things, basically to survive. And this energy we receive by taking in food. Now what is food? Food is a kind of fuel which provides energy to all living organisms. So the food that you have taken today, it is basically giving you energy in doing or performing various processes. Now let's read our fourth point here. The process of acquiring food and utilizing it to get energy is called nutrition. Now this is basically the definition for our life process called as nutrition. Again, I'll read it. The process of acquiring food. The process, how you acquire your food. The process of acquiring food and then utilizing it. How do we utilize it? By eating it. For what? For getting energy. So the process of getting food, eating it, and taking out energy from it to survive is basically called as nutrition. Now what is food? Food is basically an organic substance. Now what do you understand by organic? What do we understand by organic? Organic is nothing but those substances that we get from living organisms. Those substances that we get from living organisms is called as organic substance. Now basically food is an organic substance. Now what type of food do you eat? You eat rice. Now this rice, it comes from what? It comes from a living organism. It comes from a living organism called as paddy, maibufang. Or I can take more examples of food such as vegetables, tomato, potato, etc., etc. These are also living organisms. So basically food is an organic substance, and organic simply means those substances that we get from living organisms. Now the simplest type of food is basically called glucose. Now don't forget this name, glucose. Now glucose is what? Glucose is a simple sugar. Now don't get confused by this, I will explain it to you what is glucose. Now basically if I call sugar, you don't think of the sugar that we generally get from sugarcane that we eat that we drink with our tea or milk, not that. But basically here glucose means the chemical substance that is present in our cereals. Cereals means food like your wheat, rice, etc. Now basically this rice or wheat, they are made up of glucose. And what is glucose? Glucose is a simple sugar. When you eat rice, remember you are eating rice means you are eating basically a glucose, basically sugar. Now here let's read this line. A more complex food is starch. Now as I have said, when you eat rice, what do you eat? Basically you are eating glucose. But generally it will be wrong if I directly say glucose, but I would say like this: when you eat rice, you are eating starch. The chemical that is present in rice is starch, and this starch, it is made up of more simple sugar called glucose. Okay, so let's go to our next point. The general name given to starch and glucose is carbohydrate. Now when we say starch or when we say glucose, basically they are the same thing, because starch is made of glucose, right? But we generally in biology we will not constantly say starch, glucose, but we will generally call it as carbohydrate. So when I say carbohydrate, you will understand I am meaning starch or glucose. Or simply you can take it as, if I say carbohydrate, you will understand it as this for us, okay? But for other people, carbohydrate, the source of carbohydrate is this, WHEAT, basically wheat. Okay, so this is one of our food. One of there are many forms of food, but this is one of our food. It is called carbohydrate. By carbohydrate I mean rice and wheat. Let's go to our next point. Here it is clearly written types of food. Now, how many types of food are there? As I have said, carbohydrate is one type of our food. Other than carbohydrate, we have got protein, we have got fats, we have got mineral salt, we have got vitamins and water. Now water is also food, right? We are constantly drinking it. Okay, so we came to know that carbohydrate is found in which type of plants? Plants like your paddy, rice, wheat, basically we call gum, isn't it? Now other than that, carbohydrate is also found in potato. Other than potato, carbohydrate is also found in corn, or generally we call it maize, M-A-I-Z-E. Okay, so let's come to protein. Where do we get protein? Basically protein is found in I would say meat. Okay, I would say for now I would say meat. The meat that you eat, whether it is fish, or whether it is chicken, or whether it is egg, or whether it is pork or whatever, basically you are getting protein. Basically you are eating protein. Just like when you eat rice and wheat, basically you are eating carbohydrate. In a similar way, when you eat meat, you are basically getting protein. Now let's come to our next food. It is called fat. Now fat is basically very simple thing, don't get confused. Fat means oil. So from where do we get fat? We get fat by eating oily things. Oil, basically we eat oily food, isn't it? When we eat oily food, we get fat. Other than that, fat also naturally occurs in animals and also in plants. In animals, particularly in pork, we get basically this fat, we call it wag bufam, isn't it? So when you eat that, basically you get fat. Now what about mineral salt? From where do we get mineral salt? By mineral salt I mean there are many types of mineral salt, but the most common one is it is called NaCl. You have already studied in class 9. Na means sodium, Cl means chloride. So NaCl means sodium chloride. Now what is sodium chloride? The normal table salt, the normal salt that your mother uses in cooking the food for you is basically NaCl or sodium chloride. So when we take that, we get mineral salt. But other than that, there can be various sources of mineral salt, which I'll talk about it later. Now let's go to vitamins. Vitamins are found in fruits. Vitamins are found in vegetables. Basically, vegetables and fruits are packed with various types of vitamins like vitamin A, vitamin B, vitamin C, D, basically, okay. And the last one is water. Now, water is very essential. In fact, 70% of our body mass is actually made up of water. We are basically made up of cells, and the cell, 70% of a single cell is basically made up of water. Other 30% is made up of other things, okay. Okay, so here it is disturbing a bit, but I'll read it for you. A nutrient or food can be defined as an organic. You already understood what organic is. Those things that we get from living organism. So a food is an organic as well as it is an inorganic substance. Now why am I saying inorganic? Now what do you understand by inorganic? Those substances that are found not in living organisms, those substances that are not found in living organism but are found in non-living organisms, non-living things are called as inorganic substances. For example, the best example for an inorganic substance as our food is salt. The salt that we eat, we don't acquire salt from living things, isn't it? We get it from a non-living source which we know as ocean, right? So a food can be an organic as well as an inorganic substance which an organism obtains from its surroundings. Now, by surrounding you understand, isn't it? Surrounding means those things that are around us. So food, where do we get food? We obtain food from our surrounding. And what do we do with this food? We simply keep it in our house, or what do? We use it. We take it, we eat it, isn't it? As a source of energy. We eat it to get energy. Okay, this energy will help in the biosynthesis. Biosynthesis means production of biological things in your body, production of various chemicals in your body, production of new cells in your body. So that is basically called biosynthesis. So using the energy that we get from food, what do? We biosynthesize various body parts like tissues and organs. Like your organs, they happen to wear out, they happen to become they get slightly damaged, just like a car, the parts, the engines, it will never if you don't maintain it, it will never be okay, right? So you have to constantly maintain it. In a similar way, our organ, our body also, we need to constantly maintain it. It gets damaged slowly. So basically this food, it helps in repairing our tissues, repairing our organs, and basically keeping us alive. Okay, here example, let's read this. Carbohydrates and fats are a type of nutrients used by organisms as the source of energy, and protein and fats are the nutrients used for biosynthesis of its body constituents such as skin, blood, etc. Now by this, what did you understand? We know that we have got basically three major types of food. The first one, as I have already told, it is carbohydrate. The second one, it is fat, and the third type, it is called protein. Now carbohydrate and fat basically gives energy to our body. It basically gives energy, shakti, pan. And again, this same fat and protein, they gives us constituents or things for the biosynthesis of our body parts. So carbohydrate, it cannot provide us materials for biosynthesis, whereas fat and protein provides us with materials for biosynthesis of our various body parts, maybe skin, blood, and etc. But carbohydrate here, it is majorly used by our body for production of energy. And also again, fat also helps us in production of energy. So understand it, carbohydrate and fat are the two types of food that gives us energy. And again, fat and protein is that type of food that gives us those materials by which our body biosynthesizes various constituents of our body, such as skin and blood. So dear students, today's lesson will be, we will wind up our today's lesson, and we will come up with our next lesson tomorrow. So thank you all, and don't forget to study, and always stay home, stay safe, maintain the quarantine procedures, so that we can defeat this pandemic COVID-19, which is harming the whole world. And also now, sadly, more than 40 people are being diagnosed with COVID-19 in our state. So let's all hope for the best, keep praying, keep studying, stay home, stay safe. Thank you.